Welcome aboard, everybody, too.
I guess me.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the time I worked for Nintendo. And Nintendo is the all-powerful, everyone wants to work there kind of deal. But people should not want to continue to fantasize working there, because I worked for a little branch called Aerotech. Not everyone will be able to test play video games. Sometimes they'll end up working for places like I worked, which was the warehouse. And even if you do get to finally play a game, the number one thing that you end up doing is hating that game. Like for me, I started working on refurbishing Wii's, and the number one thing that we would actually use is Smash Brothers Brawl. Now, why is that bad? Because why are you deciding to do this, eyeball, that I got tired really quickly of the main theme. When I was first working there, I was 18 at the time, and the problem is with that is I just turned 18, so everyone started panicking and going, I can't wait to try to date that, and everyone who kept hitting on me was like 60 years old or older. So you have to be careful out there, especially when it comes to the games. Woo! Aerotech was all about putting stuff out, refurbishing everything to the point where we found toast in some of the games. Sometimes we would also find video games inside everyone's stuff that they handed out. I was going, hey, I just found this game, what should I do with it? Sometimes we would bring it upstairs to have it sold to other employees. The other times is this veteran employee that worked at Nintendo grabbed it, took their key, and just scratched all over it. Even when you think video games are Nintendo's thing, it's not. It's all about making money. And the number one thing that they always loved to do was to lay off people. This was another term of firing, but they just wanted you to, be comfortable with the idea of being laid off. Once you got laid off, either you did come back or you never came back. That's the whole thing. And a lot of people keep on forgetting that there are a few pedophiles in Nintendo. Or at least at the time when I was working there was at least 3. They might have already been fired. I have no idea, because it was a while back ago. But a lot of people also don't know how they treat the employees there. An accident has to happen in order for better things to happen. Like, I still remember a horror story that was told to me. They were fixing up their hair, and all of a sudden, while they were having it all tied up and whatnot, they put their hand down on the belt and immediately, lost a couple of fingers. And ever since then, that's when the policy was, oh, don't put your hand on there. You might lose it, because someone did. Everything was a safety hazard at some point or another. You had to make sure you wore specific shoes, but that's, in most cases, a duh. Because, I don't know if you knew this, guys, but when you work for Nintendo, it's weird. It's not happy fun times. I'm sorry, it's not this casual thing that you get to play video games all day, and by the time you do get to play them all, you remember hating them and hating them. Like, I still remember this one person who absolutely hates Donkey Kong because of how much they had to play it over and over and over again. So they had to listen to the songs over and over and over again, because you had to, find all the glitches and whatnot. It's not happy. It's not fun. Not even times. So my advice to you is, if you want to play video games for a living, don't go to Nintendo. I mean, dreams can come true. You have to make something of yourself. You can't just start out the gate. This is my hobby. This should be my passion too. Doesn't just start. You have to, bring it high. Don't just start high. It's like Do you want to make a batch of cookies? How do you eat the cookies then? You have to make the cookies. See? Here, why are you doing this? Roll them out, you bake them, all that fun jazz. Working there was horrific. I was not treated with a whole lot of respect because I was the youngest one there. And because I was the youngest one there, everyone was like, oh, you're also the shortest one here. So people would like put their arm on my head. I mean, these were my friends doing this. Imagine what people were doing who didn't like me. I bumped into a few of those. They were all working for the main branch of Nintendo. I mean, it was still all Aerotech, but here's where we were working, which was the main warehouse. Here's where everyone else was working, which was near the store and whatnot. I should clarify. We had an indoor store that was only meant for employees. Like, we could buy things at the end of the year. It was beautiful. Like, I got a Pokemon game for only 25 cents. And it was like brand new at the time. But just because you have a whole lot of employee discount doesn't mean there's a whole big joyous day kaloo for working there. My hat is making my head sweaty. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself what you actually want to become. Do you want to become this employee that's treated extremely poorly for the sake of saying you work at Nintendo? Take it from me. It's not worth it. I'll tell you which place was working very well for was Gigglechops. Just wanted to talk about the time that I worked for one of the best places called Gigglechops. It was a dog wash kind of place and it's self-service, so not a whole lot of people liked that part, but the few people who did actually want to come in and work on their dog, because it was also extremely cheap because of that, we would end up doing was wiping down the tubs, I should say sanitize the tubs, and also clean everything else up. And I still remember a lot of the dogs' names, a lot of the customer names. I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but it was a really fun place. And one of the few places that actually hired people with difficulties, either in physical difficulties or mental difficulties. And not very many places hire people like that. So you could imagine, from me going from Nintendo to Gigglechops, there was a very large year gap because many people don't want to hire people like me or my coworker. Or co-workers. We did start with a couple, and then from them working with us, they actually found jobs elsewhere. Hopefully good jobs. I have not heard or seen them in a while because of the store closure. And yes, I had really good bosses. I'm still getting messages from my old bosses. Few of the customers also gave me their info so I can go find a job later down the line. But you would never guess this. I haven't been able to find a job because of how many places don't want people who have disabilities. So it's a bit of a standstill, but I'm trying. A lot of places are still hiring, of course, naturally. I like my hat, but it keeps making my head itch. Find a job that's like Gigglechops, not so much find a job that's like Nintendo. Nintendo will rock your world in the worst way possible. Is that a spider? Nope. It is still snowing really hard outside. Are you getting snow? I'm getting snow. This wasn't so much of a story of, oh, don't try to work at Nintendo. I mean, still, Nintendo will think of quantity over quality nowadays, as we've all seen from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, unfortunately. But it's more of, if you do plan on doing stuff, there will also be stories behind it as well. No matter where you go, you can find your dream job and all that jazz. You will find something to talk about. Like, the biggest thing for me at Gigglechops was when the power shut down. One of our regular customers was still in the store, and he was like, "Did the lights just shut off?" I'm like, "Yep, they did." So there we were, trying to wash the dog in the dark and getting her all dried off. Her name was Hermione, by the way. Very cute corgi. I have tons of stories from Gigglechops. I still remember the time that I found a snail on the door right before opening shop. Careful of job search. Careful of all that. Your dreams are still obtainable. Just be wary of where you go. And that's all I have to say. So, thank you so much for watching. I'll be shoving off now. Have fun.